Start now. Hey,
Right now?
hey! You tuned into another episode of The Checkpoint, your favorite show about video games, and me and this guy. What's your name, this guy?
Hey, my name is Mike Uoynwoi Spanish. What's your name?
Mike, Ryan the Rugged Nerd Marshall, and we are a great team bringing you pretty alright content about all things video games. Sitting next to me, my EP. I'm going to ask him to do stuff, and he's going to tell me to do stuff. It's going to be great. Let's start with our favorite topic.
Hey,
I don't know.
what's your favorite topic?
It's like you always start, and then sometimes we're doing isometric RPG.
I'll go real quick because I've already talked about this. My favorite Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy Tactics. So my favorite isometric RPG is Final Fantasy Tactics. I've talked about this before. It's a really good strategy game. It has lots of depth, lots of jobs that you can do, lots of different ways you can beat it. It's not super difficult, but it is a lot of fun. If you haven't played it, go steal a little kid's PS1 and just play it.
Do you think that, like, if you steal a kid's PS1, like, if the dad comes, would you beat the shit out of the dad? You have to, right?
Depends if he comes back for it. I mean, not just
my child's big dude.
I mean, I'm not adverse to just random violence.
I mean, a good solid. Because the thing is, like, here's the deal. Like, I really want to play this game. You sold it on me. You barely talked about it today, and you sold it on me. You talked about it in the past shows, and you really sold it on me. I don't have a PS1. I can't just go out and buy one, so clearly I have to steal one from a child. If that dad comes running after me, I can't play it because he's going to call the police. I'll have to fucking go to jail. I'm not going to do that. I'm not all right, hold on. I should clarify. I'm not going to, beat the shit out of him. That's not what I meant. I meant, punch him once, giving you enough time to get away.
Right.
Like in the shoulder. Maybe in the shoulder, not necessarily in the face. He's an accountant. Like he's
you need to have a football, and you need to just throw it at the groin. Football to the groin works every time with dads.
Every time. What, softball? Maybe softball? You got the point of the football.
A softball would do the job.
Anyways, that old song and dance.
What's your favorite isometric RPG?
So I danced around a few, clearly.
Ooh, dancing.
So the clear cut franchise that always was going to be Diablo, and Diablo 2 I would say would be one of the closest magnificent games of all time. But that's not my answer. My actual answer is Diablo 3, just because I played it the most. I got wildly into it. But there is a game, and I'm gonna get back to Diablo 3 that was just inches, nay, centimeters, nay, millimeters from just nudging Diablo 3, and that's Divinity. And I am overdue for a CP story on Divinity, so actually keep an eye out for that.
Next week.
But you can just think about what you want to do in that game, and you can do it. I mean, you could do anything in that game. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a really good game.
It's absolutely wonderful. It's kind of, I'd say, it's probably closer to a hidden gem. But yeah, I'll talk more about that during my CP story when I do one. But definitely check it out. It's on PS4, PC, Xbox One, and the sequel's coming out, I think, this year.
Yeah.
So check it out. But yeah, Diablo 3, I just feel like, when I played Diablo 2, I absolutely loved it. I mean, I played Diablo 1. I don't really remember it that much. Diablo 2 I really loved, but I was a little bit younger when I played it. I think I was the right age when I started playing Diablo 3. I was older. I was a more mature gamer, if you will. And I just put a disgusting amount of hours into that game. And I've owned it 3 times. I owned it on 360, I owned it on PC, and now I own it on PS4. It's just I always come back to it, and I'm always I'm going to try somebody out, and then I end up usually just being the demon hunter.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
We got the Necromancers coming out. That's also awesome. They're still having support for it. There's a Necromancer class coming out. Diablo 1 is being basically modded into the game so you could play it. We got the Crusader that came out later as a DLC character. So
they've done a good job expanding the game, so it's a good choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people shit on that game at first, but I feel like they did a really good job of listening to the fans and taking out the real money auction house and kind of adapting it in ways really built on the end game. And I think it's a really solid product. So
I'm sold. Let's go play right now.
Let's go get it. All right, we're out here. See you guys. All right, so those are our favorite eyes.
Cool.
I should have known better. Of course, yours is Tactics, which is a wonderful game.
If you listened to me when I talked, then we wouldn't have this conversation.
I do listen to you. I mostly listen to you when we talk.
So speaking of Final Fantasy,
speaking of Final Fantasy, we're not going to get too much into it. I know we do usually do our Final Fantasy update, but the reason that we're not is we are going to be doing a Final Fantasy spoiler show. We're going to be talking about all the nitty-gritty details of it, all the deepest, darkest spoilers, story stuff. I don't think we're really going to be reviewing it all that much. Mostly probably just our thoughts. Not really like
just story and how we felt about the game and playing through it.
Yeah, I mean this is a buy for both of us, and we suggested a buy to anybody. But yeah, we're going to be doing that. So keep an eye out for that. Probably within hopefully the next week or so we'll have that up. But yeah, the big news for this week is Nintendo Switch.
Tomorrow night.
10
p.m. Eastern.
What is it? What is it called? Press conference? Is that what they're calling it?
This is just a press conference, but then they are doing a live episode of Treehouse or whatever they call it, Nintendo Treehouse.
Direct. Is that the same thing? Nintendo Direct and Treehouse.
Something like that. So
some Nintendo thing.
But yeah, so the press conference is tomorrow, where they're just going to announce details as far as I know, price and specs and stuff like that about the Switch. Official release date would be my guess as well, since it's supposed to come out in March. And
I thought we had an official release date.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's tomorrow. I mean, I imagine price will be the big one, which right out the gate, I'm pretty sure is $249. I mean, a retailer leaked that price a while ago, and that just seems like
we're kind of there
thing. And also, just from what I know of it already, that price makes sense. My biggest thing is I want to see games. I want to see what you're going to be able to play on this. I feel like I have a general understanding of what this thing is. I mean, the kind of the big negative rumor that's been swirling it is that as soon as you take it out of the port or the dock or whatever you want to call it, that thing just slows down and it doesn't run things as well.
Right.
Which I'm sure they would address. I feel like getting ahead of it because it's already kind of been... the rumor, I'm sure there's like a little baby rumor that's like grown exponentially is something way crazier. But yeah, do you have any expectations or predictions?
For the conference, I don't think they're going to talk about games a whole lot. They might talk about what they expect released at launch, like what the launch games will be and maybe what's coming soon. The very next morning is Nintendo Treehouse Live, which is where I expect them to highlight some of what it can do a little more and show us some more games. That's at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on the 13th on Friday. So tomorrow night is the press conference, and then Friday morning is Treehouse Live, where you get to kind of get a better look at the system and I assume games.
Absolutely.
So
they just in general they need to start talking about this thing. I mean, because like you said, we're just a few months away, and like we really don't know a whole bunch. I mean, like the whole, they keep showing Breath of the Wild, which it looks awesome, but like I don't even know. I mean, we're hearing rumors that it's not actually even releasing as a launch game. It might not be till summer. It's like they need to like tomorrow or over the next couple of days, they need to be like, okay, here's what the fuck is happening. Here's what the fuck this thing is. Here's what's coming out for it. Here's like, we need to know. That's like, people aren't going to commit.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to get tomorrow. I don't see. There's no reason to hold anything back. I mean, they can't build it up any more than they have. You're right. If they don't tell us anything, or if they don't tell us enough, then people are just gonna kind of get turned off. At least until Breath of the Wild comes out, or the next Smash Brothers, or the next Mario Kart, or what those are kind of the big three for Nintendo. So I don't know. Nintendo prints money. I mean, it's hard to bash on them to say that they don't know what they're doing or that they're making the wrong decisions because they just keep. People just keep buying their systems. People just keep flocking to Nintendo.
Well, sometimes they buy their systems. I mean, the Wii U was a failure. I mean, it was a commercial failure.
True.
A commercial failure. I'm not saying it was a failure like it didn't have great games or anything like that. The system was bad, but it was by far a commercial failure. And obviously that's not, it hasn't really put a hitch in their step quite yet.
It didn't have a gimmick like the Wii, and I think that's
right.
Part of it, and the Switch has that.
Well, I mean, it had the pad, but I just feel like the gimmick didn't catch on like the Wii did. I mean, the Wii was easy. Hold these two things and to do this. This was like, here's this whole fucking thing, and it makes like any hardcore gamer. I feel like, I hated using that thing. Like, I did not want like Smash Brothers. Any game I was playing, I was like, I want nothing to do with the pad. I want a pro controller.
I think you and everybody else.
Experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Are you just like right off of everything that you know up until this point? I don't think you said you were going to buy it, but like, are you looking forward to the Switch?
No.
Is it something you're excited about?
No, I mean, for me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I've not played a lot of Zelda in my time, so it's not like I feel like I have to play the next Zelda game that comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a huge Smash Brothers player. It's not like something, like I like to play it, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I don't have to get the new game and like play all the characters and unlock everything and like go crazy with it. It's just another system. Excuse me. For me, so I doubt I may never own one. I don't know.
Sure.
Certainly not a priority. Are you going to get one?
I don't know. I mean, our producer seems to think that I will. I know how I am.
Are you gonna get one like you didn't get a PS4 Pro?
I couldn't have gotten that any faster if I tried. I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna wait till next year, and then I'm pretty sure I said that on this show, even to both of you, and I was like, I'm gonna get that like next year, and then like probably
it was like the next
later,
day.
I text you a picture. Look what I got. But you know what? I got my 4K TV with it. I couldn't be happier. I got the HDR with it. I got to play Final Fantasy 15 in 4K HDR, which is gorgeous.
Yeah,
but yeah, to answer your question, I don't know. I haven't owned myself a Nintendo console lately. Like when I was still living back home, like my sister would have a Nintendo Wii, and like so I would play on that. My sister now has a Wii U, so if I was like visiting her or she was visiting, I would play it. But I don't know, people go really crazy for Zelda, and I do think Zelda's wonderful, and it's made its mark on the history of games. But like, I don't know, we all three of us, which again, you'll see the show coming up soon, we all played and beat Final Fantasy 15, and like that was legendary as far as like an RPG for me, which I mean, I might get crucified for saying this, but like I feel like Breath of the Wild might not even hold a candle to it, but I don't know, I haven't played it. That's just a prejudge. Like I don't like to do that usually, but 15, that was crazy. So
that's kind of a whole nother conversation, but I agree with you. I mean, it's not. They're
like
sort of on
like, people
different
are like,
levels.
Breath of the Wild, like I need to get a Switch. Like there are so many great games, like Witcher.
It's comparing apples to oranges. I feel like Zelda, in its current state, to kind of these new open world, Final Fantasy 15, The Witcher 3 type games. Whatever Mass Effect's going to be, if that's going to, that's got a very open world look to it. So, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes.
Yeah. Yes, we will. So, yeah, well, if you guys want to check it out tomorrow night. You can live stream it pretty much anywhere online. Any gaming publication, major one will pretty much do it.
And if you miss it, I'm sure we'll talk all about it next week. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah,
if you missed the Nintendo conference, don't miss our episode next week because we will talk about it.
Yeah, we'll be going over everything. So new information as of, I believe, yesterday, Scalebound, which is Platinum Games' video game that they were developing, kind of in development hell. It was an Xbox exclusive, very reminiscent of like, I would say like Devil Meets Cry meets like Dragons, or meets How to Train Your Dragon. It was like you. I mean,
explain. So
cool.
Well, first, the game's canceled.
Yes, it is.
So that sucks.
It was rumored. It was kind of rumored yesterday morning, and they have officially canceled it.
I've never heard of this game, so maybe I've just been in my Final Fantasy box playing Final Fantasy 14 and 15, and I know it's been in development for a while. But tell me about it.
So.
Why were you excited for this game? Why is it so relevant that Scalebound just got canceled?
I mean, it was, first and foremost, so it was, I think, it was an Xbox, it was for sure an Xbox exclusive. And that, in and of itself, is huge because, in this day and age, when the consoles are so close, technically, in a lot of ways, your exclusive really what's going to separate you. So this was like, hey, this was a new one coming out. It was by Platinum Games, which... big thing that they've done is Bayonetta. Right now, they're working on Nier Automata, I think that's what it is. Automata. They're working on a bunch of other stuff. So I mean, Bayonetta is kind of their claim to fame, and it was kind of taking from Bayonetta in a sense, where it was kind of like this, like very hack and slash. At least from what it looked like, a very hack and slash. Like again, really reminiscent of Devil May Cry. Your character even kind of looks like he's from Devil May Cry, but it's.
Yeah, shorter hair.
Weirdly medieval, but like you have like Beats by Dre that you can put on and get like this weird rock armor, and you have like a like a plasma bow, and it was just like this really weird game. But I mean, it looked cool. Like it was co-op, which is obviously like really big and people really dig, and you could get on and off your dragon and fight big epic battles. But I don't know. They're being, from what I understand, I mean, I've read both the developer comment and Microsoft's comment, that they're really not saying why this happened. They're kind of just like, all right, this didn't work out, so we're going to move on. And Microsoft is kind of like, yeah, well, we're not having this be a game anymore. And they like completely wiped it from their the dashboard, the Microsoft store. Like there's nothing about this game anymore. So I feel like something negative happened. I don't think this was just because.
I mean, if you made the comment, and I read both our statements as well. And there was nothing really revealing. You said it's been in development hell, so it's possible that it's been a lot of time and money into this game, and it's not where they feel like it should be for a game. It's supposed to be a AAA exclusive, and if it wasn't at that level, it does seem like it's better to just kill it and cut your losses instead of putting out a bad game, especially when there's been so much like negative press about hyped games with coming out and not delivering and just not being good games. This is supposed to be an exclusive, especially with Sony with Horizon Zero Dawn coming out next month. You don't want to follow up that with, your crappy, thrown together dragon kind of game that people don't understand. So,
well, even from what I'm looking at right now and what you guys are seeing, it kind of gives me like a Lost Planet kind of vibe, which I don't know if you remember was a 360 franchise, which was like totally, to me, completely forgettable. Like I thought it was okay. Our producer seems to completely disagree with me.
It wasn't a 360. Only the first one I think was 360. Everything else was on PlayStation as well. Like it was all cross-platform after that.
But I mean, like, I don't know. I just feel like, these exclusives, again, I'm going to reiterate, are like so important now more than ever, and especially for Microsoft. Like, I mean, we could argue back and forth about, the Sony versus Microsoft as far as exclusive goes, but it's, for me at least, it seems like a pretty clear, like, yeah, Microsoft has Halo, which is wonderful. Microsoft, but like, and Gears of War, but besides that, they have kind of like these failed franchises. Record kind of failed to really wow anybody. Sunset Overdrive kind of failed to wow everybody. And then you go over here on Sony and you have Uncharted and God of War and Bloodborne. I mean, the list goes on of these franchises, these exclusives that are wonderful, not to mention their indie library. So it's like, I feel like that more than anything hurts the most, that this wasn't just a third-party game. This was supposed to be one of their new big exclusives and an original IP. Yeah. From what I would consider a pretty solid developer. I mean, Bayonetta was received really well, so I feel like there's something more than just like, hey, this is just not going well. Like, I want to probably creative differences, maybe. I don't know. I
don't know. I think that might be digging too deep. Games get canceled all the time.
Yeah.
That's part of, when I was reading up on this a little bit. All sorts of games get canceled constantly. This one, I mean, you're right. This one's big because this was supposed to be one of their bigger exclusive titles.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know. I guess I'm not an Xbox guy. I don't own an Xbox, and I probably never will, of any kind. So I hadn't heard of it, maybe just because, I don't know, I'm not in the Xbox world, but just being always reading up on games and whatnot, I didn't really know much about this game. So I don't know that, like, maybe it was something that caught your eye, and so you were like, man, this game looks really cool. And, like, the couple of videos I've seen, it does look cool, and it's kind of a cool concept. But maybe it just wasn't. Maybe it seems like it was a bigger game than it actually was for them.
Very well,
especially
very well could be true.
Just looking at Platinum Games' list of games, so they have Nier. I'm pretty sure you're right. Autonoma. I can't even say it. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to try to say it again.
Nier has its fans, but never really like was. Well, anybody.
So my point here is they have Nier, they have Grand Blue, and Lost Order that are both scheduled for 2018. Plus Scalebound, which just got canceled. They were developing 4 games at the same time. Like, I think in their case, maybe it was stretching themselves too thin. Microsoft didn't like what the product that was coming out, and it wasn't worth maybe going back to the drawing board on some of the things when they have 3 other games coming out. Now, it looks like neither of them are for Xbox, but at some point you cut your losses. You don't put the money in. You don't risk making things worse for yourself than they already are. Because you're right, Microsoft is fighting a losing battle of trying to catch up to PlayStation or catch up to Sony at this point. So
yeah, with their games. Which
I don't know.
I mean, it's a shame. I mean, I wonder if this is the end of the game or if we're gonna see it picked up by somebody else. Maybe it'll end up coming onto both consoles.
Maybe.
But, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited by this next news because this is one of my favorite franchises of all time.
No.
Right up there. With,
You're not excited.
Metal Gear Solid and Final Fantasy, and that's Mass Effect. Andromeda's on its way. Release date March 21st. And our producer and I have had many conversations.
Oh, I'm sure.
About how his worry of the new one, which I kind of get what he means, is it seems like it's being, sort of marketed as this really, really open world exploration game. And although I would say Mass Effect in general has mostly been open world, the metaphor that he used, which I really liked, was comparing it to Mighty Max. You remember Mighty Max? Or like Micro Machines, and it was like the Star Wars Micro Machines where it would be like C-3PO's head, and you'd open it up and there'd be like a little play set. And that's how he explained it. And it actually makes a lot of sense. Like you would go from like this like isolated area that was sort of open, and have like awesome characters and, dialogue. And then you'd go to like this another very different setting that was sort of open, but not too big. And then that might be a combat section with new settings. And then you go to another, and it'd just be like this. So it's open in the sense where you could jump back and forth to these like different, smaller, isolated. Oh, right. Yeah, we get the Mighty Max.
Yes.
Those are fucking tits. I had that one, dude. Mighty Max was a G.
So, okay. So without talking about Mighty Max too much. So you're saying the game is like Mighty Max, where it contains like the action. It's open world where you kind of, you get to do a lot of different things, but they've contained each of those things.
Right.
And they kind of guide you through them.
Exactly. Versus like Red Dead, where it's like this entire open world, and you do things in separate areas of that open world, where Mass Effect was small like hubs, right? It was like hub,
right.
hub.
Right.
And the open world was space, but that, you're not getting out of your ship and walking through space. It was like you're going from hub to hub.
So the look of this game, and watching this trailer, with the compass at the top and the points, it's reminiscent of Fallout. It's reminiscent of Skyrim. It's reminiscent of just these open world games that we have now. Open world is sort of where we're at. That's the big genre, or not really genre. Open world isn't a genre, but that's the open world. The open world's the standard, exactly.
For most AAA games, yeah.
So expanding on that, I think, is a really good idea. And if they did it the way that maybe Fallout or Skyrim, if they're trying to model it after that, and I mean, this is BioWare. This is a company who's really, really good at making video games. And while open world maybe isn't their forte, doing it for the first time doesn't mean they're going to do a bad job. Right. So I think it's a risk, but I think it's probably calculated.
Well, and I don't mind it so much. Like we talked about Final Fantasy before. Like I get really caught up in like a lot of the side shit, just exploring a lot of the side missions. Like I get really caught up, and now if I'm playing a game that I don't like in a setting that I don't like, then okay, that's kind of annoying. But like, I mean, I'm the space. Like I love space. That's my favorite. Like space video games. Like that. I mean, I'm obviously a big Star Wars fan, so I'm always gravitate towards those types of games, which is why Mass Effect has always stood out for me. So like if I'm stuck looking around in this world that's gorgeous, and there's like and I'm finding materials, I can craft new armor and new weapons, like that doesn't sound so bad to me. Like it sounds kind of fucking cool, actually.
It sounds really cool to me too. But to Jack's point, you have to be careful. You have to be careful with changing the game to that. So sort of my counterpoint to my own point is
you're about to cause Inception. Mass
Effect 1, 2, and 3 are very linear.
Yeah.
Like you said, that's actually a really good analogy. Those little Mighty Max, things, they're, these contained battles, these contained, elements. If you move the game completely into this open world, there's a lot less linear stuff to do, and people kind of have to fend for themselves and figure it out. it either means you have a particularly short story and you're expecting people to go open world, and if you just blow through the story, then it's, a 12-hour game and people are going to complain about that. Or you may just lose them on the fact that there's so much to do that they overwhelm them because it's changing the series from one type to another.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, though. Are you I know you don't get a lot of games. Are you planning on getting this one?
Eventually. I actually haven't played Mass Effect 3 yet. And I realize that's, from my understanding, that doesn't seem like it's important or super important. But I don't know. I might want to play Mass Effect 3 before I play Andromeda.
Well, and that's another thing. Like, Mass Effect is kind of the only game in town that's really, really explored. I mean, other games have done this, but really, really explored the idea of bringing a single character with the stories that you're creating through all 3 games. I imagine that this isn't going to be a one-off, and that this is going to be probably a new trilogy, and I'm hoping that they do that again because I thought that was wonderful. I mean, yeah,
it worked well.
I mean, I know the ending of Mass Effect 3 kind of was divisive, and that's fine. But I mean, Mass Effect has always been more about the journey for me. Although Mass Effect 2's ending, oddly enough, is one of the greatest endings in video games. But yeah, like I think that would be great. And but I mean, you don't have to play 3. I mean, like, this is nothing, as far as I know, is nothing really. It's a separate story. I mean, hopefully you bump into some of the same characters, but looks cool.
It does. It looks really cool, and I do like open world games. So I'm sure I won't get it on launch just because I'm, got a couple of things that I'm focusing on right now. But I'd like to play it, certainly. I mean, I love BioWare games, and I'm sure they've done a really good job.
Alrighty. Speaking of open world games, we got Square Enix talking about Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts 3, stating that it might be a while before release. So first of all, that's a bummer. And my question to you is, how soon is it? Like, what's too soon to announce a game? Because I want to say Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced 2 E3s ago. So now we're, about a year and a half. And Final Fantasy VII, I think, was that was 2 E3s ago too. So now both those games are about a year and a half at least.
No, Final Fantasy was...
It wasn't last E3 because...
Last E3.
No, it was the E3 before that, because the E3 before that had Shenmue 3, and that was the same E3. The last E3 was not. Last E3 was...
That was last year.
Stuff. Like, we're talking not last June, the June before is when both Final Fantasy 7, or when Final Fantasy 7 was announced. I don't remember when Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced. I think it was even before that. What was that? 2015? Yeah, so it was 2 E3s ago.
Okay, well.
So, I mean, now we're going... And Kingdom Hearts 3 was even announced before that, so that's probably going on almost 2 years that it's been announced, and they're saying that they're a while before release. Like, do you think that's detrimental? Do you think it's fine? Like, do you think they should have just kept their fucking mouths shut until they had something more tangible?
I think in this case, it's probably too... I mean, it's Square's 2 biggest series, like... Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy, and then it's the Final Fantasy VII remake. Like, they could have announced that 10 years ago, and people would still be going crazy for it. I mean, if it takes, a Final Fantasy VII remake doesn't come out until 2020, are you not going to buy it?
No, of course I will.
Right, exactly. So these have the draw that it doesn't really matter. Now, what particularly stinks about Final Fantasy is that it's a multi-part remake. And that whenever this does come out, which, complete side note, it should be this year because it's the 20-year anniversary of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
It should be the fall. If they can't make the deadline, then they can't make the deadline, and that it is what it is. But
so even with that being said, do you think there might still be a chance it'll be this year?
I think there's a chance that Final Fantasy Part 1 remake will be this year. But that's only supposed to be first disc. I don't even know if you're supposed to... Well, yeah, first disc was just getting out of Midgar, right?
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
And then you beat the game.
I don't even know if... Yeah, I don't even know if the first part is even going to be getting out of Midgard. Like, they said it's going to be several parts. It's not just going to be... I don't even know that it's just going to be 3. It could be more than that. So... Hopefully it's no more than 3. that's just getting a little overboard in my opinion.
But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I feel like, so really to answer even my own question, I feel like some developers probably can get away with it more. Because like you said, yeah, if they announced Scalebound and then it didn't come out for like 5 years, that sure, some of that luster probably could have been lost. But yeah, something like Final Fantasy VII, whether it releases this year or 3 years from now, yeah, it's going to have the same sales.
Same with Kingdom Hearts. I mean,
same with
it's just got a huge following. It's a huge series. People are going to play it regardless of when it comes. I mean, you might lose some people, but I don't feel like they're not making Final Fantasy VII Remake for the sales.
Right.
This is they don't need the profit at this point. This isn't 1987 where, they named it Final Fantasy because it was it was the end of the dream if the game failed. Like, This is way beyond that. They, Square prints money with the games that they make. So, Kingdom Hearts, maybe that's a little bit different because everyone won't buy it just because. But
yeah. I think it's a big game, but it's a little bit more of I would say cult following versus something like their Final Fantasy, which I'd say most people that probably even touch an RPG bought Final Fantasy 15 and will probably buy Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, exactly.
But still huge, but to maybe a lesser degree, you have the Kingdom Hearts people.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it'll still sell well. Like it won't break any records, and Square I think is okay with that.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Just that I'm looking forward to them. I mean,
me too.
Whenever they come out, I'm sure I'll definitely get Final Fantasy, and I'll probably get Kingdom Hearts as well. It's always been. I only played one, but it was a lot of fun, and
I only did 1 and 2. I never did any. There's like a million offshoots that I never.
Yeah, did. No, I definitely got to.
So Pokemon Go was like the biggest thing in the nation for like a month. Has not launched in China yet. But now, Chinese officials, very important officials, are saying that it might not because of personal safety and national security risks.
I feel like this is a good idea. This is a good call, China. Like,
I mean, there were the horror stories of people like walking off bridges and like getting in car accidents. So
that happened in the United States.
Right.
People were like walking into traffic.
Yeah.
To look for Pokemon. And China goes crazy.
It was a Bulbasaur. You had to go.
About this stuff. Totally crazy about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it dropped off just as fast as it got big. I mean, I know we have the second generation. Do you still play it? Our EP still plays it. I don't have it on my phone. Not because it's not good, just because
I don't have it anymore either. But I also don't. It kind of depends on where you live and your access to it and stuff like that. So.
Well, did Gen 2 come out, or just some of it? Like some of the second generation Pokemon came out, which is I mean that's smart. Like keep them wanting more. Like But yeah, I mean like I think that's crazy though that this might not. I mean China's a very big market. I mean it's not Japan as far as gaming goes, but it's still a huge market. I mean it's got one of the biggest populations in the world, if not the biggest.
Yeah.
And it's like I think that's crazy that they're just considering not releasing it at all. But I mean, I guess it's not up to Niantic, but it's still.
How many people die like all the time though in China or countries like that because they're at their desk like playing a game nonstop or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a good decision to be honest. It stinks if you live in China, and I'm sorry all our Chinese viewers that you won't get to play Pokemon Go, but it's just kind of the reality that a lot of people will probably get hurt playing the game.
Not a lot of room there. Can't just be moving around like in big open grassy fields like here.
Yeah.
A lot of room for error.
Exactly.
So, all right, well, I guess we'll have to just wait and see. And you also wait and see for our Final Fantasy show, which we're going to have up very shortly.
Soon.
Next week. We are going to be talking about our favorite sci-fi shooter. Do you have any final thoughts on the show?
I'm kind of excited for next week because there's a lot of good choices. Lots of good choices. Like you can kind of get like abstract with what you consider sci-fi too.
Yeah.
So I got a couple in mind.
I feel like I'm not. All right. So I would normally pick Mass Effect 2 because that is my. But I'm not going to pick that. I want to try to I'm gonna try to think outside the box for this one.
Yeah.
So this might not actually be my favorite, but one that I really love that I'm trying to
Sure.
a little outside the box.
Sure.
Yeah. Also keep an eye out for our Final Fantasy show. That's our big spoiler show.
Yeah,
We're gonna have
I'm
that
pumped. We literally haven't talked about Final Fantasy, Ryan and I, for
we haven't talked
2 weeks. You and I haven't talked about Final Fantasy
yet.
Yeah, but we literally haven't talked anything Final Fantasy for 2 weeks. Partly because I don't want to talk about all the stuff that I want to talk about on the show. Yeah. So I'm super excited for the show. So you guys definitely don't want to miss it.
And then we will be going over on our next week's checkpoint. We'll be going over the Switch announcement, and depending on what that announcement is, that might be the whole show.
It could be.
If they just unleash a machine gun barrage of nerd fucking Nintendo shit, then we're gonna be talking about it. So
it might.
Check it out then. In the meantime, where can they find us?
Hey, you know where you can find us? At checkpointmg.com. That has our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, merch store, our Patreon, which is patreon.com/cpmg. If you like us, check us out there. Support us if you want. Get some cool perks to get in on some live shows and get some of our outtakes, which are hilarious. So
they are hilarious.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, don't miss it. Until next week, guys.
All right, see ya.
Still ending it. There we go.